This is the Cubs POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Chicago Cubs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Cubs postcast here on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. Joe George here with you as always, talking all things Cubs baseball, reacting to the game we just witnessed. And the Cubs win 8-0 against the St. Louis Cardinals. A lot to talk about in this game. Matthew Boyd, the lineup, it feels like a much-needed win with a big game with Shota on the mound tomorrow to wrap up this 4-game series. You guys comments are always welcome here live on YouTube as well, off the air on any social media platform at Joe George Radio. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, we will start today's show off with, because it feels like we haven't done this in 5 days, because you don't get players of the game when you lose. We'll start off today's show with our Locked On Player of the Game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Look, you score 8 runs, there's a lot of options in your lineup. We saw Kyle Tucker starting to get hot. Feels like he's really rolling right now. A leadoff home run, first pitch home run for Ian Happ. But today's Locked On Player of the Game, no question about it for me, has to be Matthew Boyd, who has been excellent this year for the Chicago Cubs. 6 innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, no earned runs, allowed only 79 pitches on the day. It was needed. That's where it was. Let's start there with what was needed. It was needed to come out and see a pitcher go out there and not get shelled for fans' sanity. Not necessarily for like the long-term future about the Cubs or anything like that. This was for our sanity, for my sanity, for your sanity if you're listening. Just to not go out there and see a pitcher get absolutely shelled, giving up 2-run home runs left and right. It's really important just to see that, I think, for all of us as to keep us in check a little bit. But Matthew Boyd has been excellent. He has like a 1.36 ERA in his last 6 starts. He's been incredible this year. He's been really the best pitcher you could say on a consistent basis on the Cubs pitching staff. And he proved that again today. You need stoppers. When things are going wrong, you need people starting pitchers to come in and stop the bleeding. And that's what he did in this game by shutting down the Cardinals, the bullpen doing their job, the lineup doing their job. Again, this feels like just a much needed victory for Cubs morale, because I know the players and the media and everyone are going on, and they're talking about how, there's rough stretches in baseball and things are to be expected. You're going to play bad at times. I get it, but it's been a brutal, 5 days going into this one of watching what's been happening. So for Matthew Boyd to come out there to do what he's been doing, definitely for me, like a little bit of concern, like going into this game. We knew his shoulder was bruised. I know they were all saying the right things. But was keeping an eye on that, like was curious what it was going to look like, just waiting to see what was going to happen after he caught that like massive line drive and it bruised his shoulder from catching it. So he was phenomenal in this game. And it wasn't just him. The lineup continues to produce like they have been of recent. The positive part of what's been happening recently is the Cubs lineup, is that we've been seeing them, from afar, obviously, putting up runs on a pretty consistent basis. We saw that again in this one, 8 runs in this game. And you do it in a little bit of every which way impossible. Before we get to that, we'll always be taking your guys' comments and questions here in the chat. Ryan asks here, can we count on Matthew Boyd in August with all these innings? That's a great question. I think the answer, I'm going to guess yes, or that like you're going to have to count on him. I think, obviously at his stage in his career, it's not like this is someone you're being conservative with their innings or anything like that. You're going to let this guy go. Maybe we see more outings like this where it's, you keep him at 80 pitches when you can, especially when you have a big lead. But you have to rely on him. He's going to be a huge factor no matter what happens at the deadline. If you think about, let's say, a lot of people in the chat here talking about how the Cubs need to add 2 starters. I've said the same thing. If you had 2 starters and you have those 2 guys, Shota, Matthew Boyd, and whoever is the 5th guy, Tyon or someone else, Matthew Boyd's still obviously a pivotal part of this team. So, yeah, it's a question in the long term, but he has been consistent. As the chat says, Matt Boyd is a dog. Absolutely. Like, he has gone out there and just continued to put up excellent performances. And what I like about Matthew Boyd is I feel like he does it a little bit differently each game. Sometimes we do see more strikeouts than others. it doesn't feel like he's consistently getting guys out in the same way. I think that shows the signs of a excellent veteran pitcher, or a veteran pitcher having an excellent season, and that's what he's doing. Andre says here in the chat on YouTube, Boyd should be an all-star, no doubt. Absolutely. The only thing that's going to keep Boyd off the all-star team, in my opinion, at this point, is the fact that they still have that rule that guys like the teams like the Colorado Rockies have to get an all-star. And the Cubs are going to have a bunch voted in by the fans. The phase 2 voting, I think, starts tomorrow, or maybe started today. And maybe that keeps him out, just a numbers crunching thing. But I think Matthew Boyd deserves to be an all-star the way he's pitched. Again, he's been the best pitcher on the Cubs staff this year, even when Shota was healthy. Matthew Boyd has been better than him this year. And now you get Shota back tomorrow on Thursday to split this series 2-2. And you can feel much better going into your weekend series versus the Astros, who by record have been the best baseball team in the league in June. And that's a big series, it feels like, as well, just because you're facing another top of the line of competition team. But focus on tomorrow. Shota back on the mound. A couple questions about his pitch count as well. Sounds like it's about 80 pitches is what we'll see. You never know with that stuff. If he's at 70 to start an inning and ends up going to 85, that's all possible. It's always a little more fluid, I think, than an actual hard number, specifically if it's during an at-bat and he passes that. But yeah, I'd say expect around 80 pitches. Hopefully you can get another 5 innings out of Shota in tomorrow's start. So that way you're not taxing your bullpen a ton going into the weekend, again, where the Cubs don't have a lot of off days between now and the All-Star break. We did see Porter Hodge return. That's nice. They're going to be using him in those low-leverage situations to really get him going. That's a byproduct of the injury, of what happened in the minors so far for him. So he's not going to be a high-leverage guy. And, for the most part, as bad as the pitching's been of recent, your high-leverage guys have not been the problem, obviously, for the Cubs. So that's a positive, too. Just the fact that Hodge is back, Shota's back tomorrow, and Matthew Boyd continues to just be excellent for the Chicago Cubs. All right, we'll take a break here. When we get back, let's talk about what we saw from the lineup in this game, plus your questions as well, live here on YouTube. And again, anytime after the show at Joe George Radio on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, wherever you can find me. We'll get to that next here on the Locked On Cubs postcast on the Locked On Cubs YouTube channel. If you ever wish managing your money felt easier, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center, so you can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building your wealth. You can track your spending and see what you're surprised on. We were surprised when we started using it and seeing all the different streaming services and things like that we were using or not using. It just helps you track all of that stuff right there on the app. So you can take control over your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Today's episode is also brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis, and maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment comes. Head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB and use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off today. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compound drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. All right, let's talk about what we saw from the lineup today. We just talked about Matthew Boyd, lockdown player of the game. Very, very well deserved. Again, so let's talk about what we see here from the lineup in this one. Again, they've been very good of recent. The Cubs have put up numbers. The pitching has just not done their job. So Ian Happ starts off the day with a leadoff homer to kick this one off. Good. Vibes are good there. Well, I appreciate that. We like seeing that as fans. So it's 1-0 there in the top of the first. And then we get to the second inning. Dansby Swanson, ground rule double, brought in by Michael Busch, who continues to be stellar against righties this year. He also probably will deserve some love for the All-Star ballot. I don't know if he'll get in, but it wouldn't shock me if Michael Busch gets in, and he'll only play if it's for a right against a righty in the All-Star game. So Michael Busch makes it 2-0 on the single, and then Reese McGuire, who hits his 5th home run of the season, makes it 4-0. What he's done so far, it's not like he's been, Carson Kelly on a heater, but just surprised, honestly, what you've seen from Reese McGuire from the first game to this. It's been very positive for him. It'll be really interesting to see what the Cubs do with him when Miguel Amaya returns, because the obvious solution is he's going to be sent back down to the minors. He's not going to have options. So he's going to have to clear waivers to stay in the Cubs organization. And the way he's been playing, that's not going to happen. He's going to get picked up by another team. So we might be in the final stretch here, just kind of guessing of the Reese McGuire run. But it's been pivotal as a backup for this team. Again, he's not a starter, but he's been a pleasant surprise finding him, bringing him into the minors, having him come up. He's contributed in a really positive way for the Cubs. I know it's not always an elite level, but we saw it again tonight, again, with the home run that made it 4-0. Then we see Kyle Tucker, who's on a heater. He's heating up. He's into the summer swing, hits the home run to make it 5-0 there in the top of the third. Really nice to see Kyle Tucker get going. I know there's a lot of complaints and blah, blah, blah about being clutch and everything like that, but Kyle Tucker is a superstar player, and he's starting to show that again for anyone that didn't totally agree with it. But so Kyle Tucker, big home run there to make it 5-0. And then this is what I want to hit on here in the fourth. This to me, it's not the turning point of the game because it's 5-0, but it's just everything's been so driven by the long ball. And yes, this inning's only going to result in 2 runs. And you could have got more. We're not going to be begging for a ton of more than 8 runs in this game. But I like this 4th inning a lot. And this is what the Cubs have been missing. Michael Busch hits the single. He steals second base. All right. Base hit on the move. Like to see that. Nico Horner fouls out to the right side of the field. Michael Busch moves to third. Matt Shaw walks. You got first and third with 1 out. Matt Shaw, he steals second base. Runners on second and third. Again, you're getting guys on. You're moving them over by your speed. They can do that. They need to do it more consistently. Ian Happ, McGuire flies out there, so it's 2 Happ and then 2 outs. And then Ian Happ comes through with the single to right field that brings in Michael Busch and Matt Shaw. So it's 7-0 Cubs. Kyle Tucker got on, and then you got Seiya Suzuki walk before, and it was bases loaded before PCA grounded out. So, look, that's what the Cubs need. Like that inning is maybe the most encouraging part of this game for me. It's just to see the guys on the move, taking advantage of being on the base pass when you've been there. That's what's been missing from the Cubs in this recent stretch. It's been a lot of home run or bust, and that's what they need to get back to is take the risk. Especially when you know you have an advantage. Like this upcoming weekend's a great example, right? Like probably not with Fromber. I think Fromber Valdez is pitching this weekend. But like the Astros are notorious for being slow to the plate. And there will be plenty of opportunities to steal bases in Houston. And that's what I want, again, to see the Cubs more. Because when I think back to April and where the Cubs really set the tone for what this season looked like it's going to be, that was what we saw. Walks, stolen bases, small ball. You've got the power. Seiya Suzuki already tied his career high in home runs. That's awesome. Kyle Tucker is going to hit a ton of home runs. Ian Happ is heating up with the home run. But you need to play the small stuff too, especially because you have so many guys on your roster. Like, Matt Shaw doesn't have a ton of great of anything right now. It's been a struggle for him at the plate, but doesn't have a ton of power. So he's got the speed, though, that he can use. Nico has speed. They all do for the most part, honestly. So I want more of that. That's where I want the Cubs to be selfish. Do more of the stuff that was making you good at the beginning of the season. That can be what really gets this thing back rolling for the Cubs in the right direction. And you're 2.5 games up on Milwaukee right now, 3.5 up on St. Louis after this one. So you need more. You need more of that stuff. So I like that. I like that inning a lot from the Cubs tonight because it just feels like that is what can make them a very successful team this season. Plus, with the long ball, is huge. Your questions and comments, welcome here in the chat live on YouTube. Question here from Josh. Josh says, per Bleacher Report, a few players they mentioned the Cubs should target at the deadline. Alex Bregman, Sandy Alcantara, Suarez from the Diamondbacks, Seth Lugo, Zach Gallen, and Merrill Kelly. I like a lot of those names, to be honest. The Bregman one would surprise me. I don't think the Cubs would be in on Bregman because when he's hurt, the second one is they wouldn't match the Bregman contract that the Red Sox gave him anyways. And while I think it's likely Alex Bregman opts out in free agency, in case he doesn't, that makes me feel like ownership wouldn't like that. Suarez I would like a lot, and I like both the Diamondbacks pitchers. Edward Cabrera is also the other name I think we've seen the Cubs linked to a couple times. That to me is very interesting. Very cheap player. I think it's like $1.2 million under club control. So it does feel like the rumors are kind of circulating around the Cubs, heavily focused on the Arizona Diamondbacks, who are still in it, and the Miami Marlins. That's where it feels like the rumor mill is heating up for the Cubs. It's like those are the teams that are just being talked about the most right now. Any move that you can make, Gallen or Merrill Kelly would be great too. I think and honestly, again, like I would love to see, like in a perfect world, like if you can get, Alcantara, who's been phenomenal this month. I think it's like a 204 batting average against him in June is what it is. It's right around there if it's not exactly 204. If you can get him and one of the guys from the Diamondbacks, I think the Cubs would be cooking at the deadline. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for at this point at the deadline. So that to me is where I would like to see the Cubs go. But Ryan says, what's with the orange shirt here on the chat? It's not. This is from my other job. This is from my ESPN Houston job. So it is orange, but, I got to wear what I got to wear. And then, so just to wrap up, my final thoughts on today's game. Really nice to just be pleasantly surprised by a win again, is a nice way to put it. 8 runs, excellent pitching from Matthew Boyd. Hopefully tomorrow you can get a very good performance from Shota. Tomorrow feels like a big game. It's not a must-win game or anything like that, but I do feel like for Cubs fans, we are going to be watching tomorrow's day game with serious intent, just to see what Shota looks like coming back off the injured list, and then really to be able to go out there and if you can split this series after the way it started, would feel like a confidence boost in a big way for the Chicago Cubs. All right, that will do it for this episode. Remember, you can find me on any social media platform at Joe George Radio, Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, all of it there as well. Remember, hit that subscribe button to the YouTube channel, like the video. Matt and Sam will have their show coming up in a little bit after as well. And then you can find us anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, all of those places. All right. That will do it for us. We'll talk to you tomorrow afternoon. Have a good one. Peace.